Hello everybody, welcome to a wet 2017. It's New Year's Day today. Really miserable day actually, and yeah, I thought why not come out in the Audi S3, do a little bit of driving, which I rarely do these days. I actually don't sort of go out for a drive now. I just am either driving to work or I'm driving for work, travelling. I travel up and down the country quite a bit. I don't usually just take my car out for a blast. Roads are very quiet today, or they seem to be. I guess a lot of people had a heavy night last night. I didn't. So this video is going to be a little bit of an overview of the last year of ownership that I've had with the Audi S3. It's the 63 plate model, so 2014 actually it was built. The hatchback, the 3-door hatchback, and just a bit of a talk around, you know, what I've found over this last year of ownership, the ups, the downs, why I may or may not keep the Audi going forward, the S3, why I might change it this year, and what other priorities I have. I will also do a few comparisons to the Audi S5 that I previously owned. Yeah, and talk about that a little bit more. I'm not going to sort of go through, move the camera around all of the interior and everything, because there's thousands of videos on YouTube about talking about the MMI or, you know, the sat nav and the stuff. So this is going to be my personal perspective of a UK owner on UK roads at the age of 25, 26, and what I found from this year of ownership, and, you know, might help you decide whether you'd like to own one, because there's some really good bargains around at the moment for like the 2014 models, for example. So yeah, we're just I'll start off, actually, we're coming up to the 3-year mark, so it's my first MOT that's coming up, and the first sort of bigger service, I guess, if you like. So let's talk about the cost of ownership first. Obviously outright now the car, you know, at this 3-year age, I've got about 20-ish, 25,000 miles on the clock. You can pick them up now for about £24,000 for a good one, warranted by Audi, for example. You can get them cheaper privately, but from past experiences, I always have a car now. If it's a modern car with warranty, I wouldn't buy one without an Audi warranty. I wouldn't go for these sort of AA warranties, if you like, or other companies that offer third-party warranties. I don't believe they're really brilliant. So yeah, cost of ownership to buy it, I guess, on the used market about 3 years old would be about £22,000 to £24,000. Yes, you could get them cheaper, but I personally like to buy something a little bit better. Obviously I have that on a PCP. I don't own it outright. I find it's more flexible for my personal circumstances. So yeah, cost of ownership for me is my monthly PCP payment, plus tyres, for example. Tyres have actually lasted really well on this. I don't think it's had a new set of tyres for the whole 3 years, and I'm literally just about to put on a new set of Continentals, which I was really excited about purchasing over the Christmas period. I got a set of Continental Sport Contact 5s, really nice tyre. It's the OE fitment, original Audi fitment on the tyre. I just bought a set of those for about £380 plus the fitment, so sort of £450 maybe. Tyres are not particularly expensive. Servicing comes under the sort of Audi fixed price servicing now, I think. And I think I'm looking at the 3-year mark. I need an oil change, an inspection, brake fluid, the Haldex oil needs changing. I'll have a wheel alignment. I think you're looking at about a £500-ish service at the 3-year mark. But generally each year you just need an oil change, it's like 160, and then an inspection on top of that every 2 years. I always go for the fixed servicing on a 9,000 miles or a year basis for the oil change, or the 16,000 every 2 years inspection service with Audi. I don't go with their flexible servicing. I prefer to change the oil yearly if you're driving a little bit harder, like I sometimes do. So yeah, £500 for the first service on the 3 years. I guess if you're buying a car just out of 3 years, hopefully that would have already had that major service. Then there's other things like brake pads and discs, but they're not particularly expensive. What I really like about this is the road tax. It's only £185 for the year versus the £500 for the year of my old Audi S5. Insurance for me at the age of 25, I think in the UK now I pay something like £400 to £500 fully comprehensive, which is not too bad in my opinion. So the cost of ownership is relatively low. I spend the most amount actually financing the car on the personal contract purchase agreement I have with Audi, but you know, I like to own a nice car and I can't afford to buy it outright, so that works for me in my circumstances. So that's the financing of the car. It's relatively cheap to run. Have I had any problems with it over the last year of ownership? No, it's been problem free. It's been under Audi warranty as well, so that's a peace of mind. Slight squeak from the rear suspension that's going on at the moment, but that will get taken care of if it comes to anything under the final inspection from Audi under their warranty before I hand it in for a service. So yeah, it's been a relatively hassle-free year, like I say, just doing the tyres now, which is literally all I've kind of had to do. What's it like owning the car? What's it like driving the car? Well, it's a lot different than the Audi S5 I had. I knew I had to kind of get rid of it because, yeah, I couldn't justify spending out there, was it £1,200 a year for the extended warranty, £500 a year road tax, and the sort of, you know, everything was a bit too much for the amount of money I earn. It wasn't really fitting with my lifestyle and where I wanted to go. But it was great to own a V8 for a year, no, 2 years actually I owned it. And I'm really pleased I did, because I don't think in another 10 years time we're going to see as many V8s on the road, and you certainly won't be able to buy an S5 then that has a V8 engine fitted. And they've obviously all got the smaller engines now, like the V6 for example. So it's really great fun to own, but the costs are getting up there. Have I enjoyed owning the car for this year? Yes and no. It's great fun to drive, don't get me wrong. You know, the driving we're doing at the moment, as you'll see down there on the picture-in-picture, is just, you know, standard driving along a, you know, small roads, and you know, driving quite comfortably. It's a lovely place to be in the interior. You can see just from the seats behind me, lovely looking seats. It's comfortable. What can you say? It's a lovely drive. There are a few things that I'll come on to later that I don't like about the way it drives, but it's been great fun to own. You know, going around the corners, you know, putting in a lot less weight than the Audi S5. You know, that was like throwing a tank into the corners. Whereas this, you can throw it around the B roads. Quattro system holds up great, and it is really good fun on the paddles to shift and everything. It's fun. I guess it depends what the driving you're really doing is going to be, because when do I actually go out and drive it like that? When do I drive it, you know, push it a little bit hard on the corners? Yeah, not actually that often, and that's what I found in the last year, that with the S5, I never really kind of worked the engine at all. I just really enjoyed the sort of magic carpet ride of it. I used to love just the way, you know, it would just go, the revs or the power delivery would just go on and on and on with that sort of lazy V8 engine. And now, I don't know, it's just like day-to-day driving. It's just like driving an ordinary hatchback. You know, I could essentially be in the Audi A3 model or even another manufacturer and probably wouldn't notice a lot of difference driving it day-to-day. I mean, what do I mean by that? I mean, it doesn't feel special. The Audi S5 felt really special, I think, and this car just doesn't feel as special to me, hence why I'm considering about selling it this year. It is obviously great when you put your foot down. Now, if I just put my foot down, you can hear coming to a national speed limit, so I put my foot down a little bit and it picks up really quick. That was just in auto mode. You know, it puts a smile on your face when you plant your foot on the accelerator through that DSG dual clutch auto box. It is really nice. obviously I got the smile from the S5 as well, but this just picks up the speed really quickly. I mean, it is ridiculously quick. I think 0 to 60 under 5 seconds, about 4.8 seconds. I mean, it is extremely quick for a small 2-litre engine. Yeah, so it puts some smiles on my faces, but for the general day-to-day driving I do, I don't really use its power, and it's just you know, don't need the power. Great around the corners, you know, going around a roundabout, for example, when I'm only going straight across at this roundabout, but you know, it really grips, and I think that's complementary to the tyres, but the Quattro system is amazing. As any of the other Audis I've driven, you know, it really grips. And to all of the BMW drivers and the Mercedes drivers that say there's no fun, well, yeah, okay, but British roads, you know, uneven and rough, and unless you're on a track where it's a safe environment, I actually prefer to feel safer on the road knowing that when I go into a wet corner, I'm going to come out the other side alive, or instead of being in a ditch or something. So I really enjoy the Quattro system, and yeah, sure, you can push it a little bit and you can kick the back out. I think I've noticed with this car versus the S5, there's a little bit of a different weighting, I think, between the Quattro system. For example, when you know, on the S5 it felt almost the same delivery to all 4 wheels. Well, here it seems to be a little bit more tail happy. I don't know from a technical standpoint whether that's correct or not, but it seems to be the case. And I'm for sure if you throw it round the corners, you can kick the back out a little bit, and if you turn off the stability control, then you can even do that a bit more. So it is really fun to drive, and we'll go into sport mode, in the dynamic mode in a minute, and really, yeah, show it round, show the paces a little bit, how it can, sorry, make you keep up with the pace. What don't I like? Okay, well, for the UK roads, again, this is a rough road, and you can tell it's pretty noisy inside. It is noisier than the S5, definitely. There's a lot less sound deadening, I think, even though it's a newer model. It's definitely a noisier ride. That's one thing. It doesn't bother me too much. I guess it would do if I was doing more motorway miles. I think, you know, what else bothers me? The biggest thing I've found, and from a takeaway from this video, if you take away nothing else and you're buying a used Audi, sorry, across the last couple of years, or a new Audi going forward, be very careful to note the drive select options, because I don't know if I wasn't entirely educated about it to start off with, but when I bought the S5, the 2010 model, it had the standard, the comfort, the dynamic and the automatic mode and the custom mode or personal mode or whatever, and that adjusted the suspension as well as the handle, as well as the steering, the engine and the gearbox, for example. I assumed that would be the case in this Audi S3 2014 model. However, it's not the case, and maybe I'm being stupid and everyone else knows that, but when I bought the S5, it just said drive select options, didn't say anything else. It said it had the driver select package, you could change the drive modes, including the suspension. In this S3, it doesn't come with what's called, I think, dynamic ride control. I think it's dynamic ride control, essentially the adaptive suspension element. So I just saw the drive select button on the dash, and I assumed that meant that included the suspension would be adaptable to the conditions, and it isn't. And I only really noticed that after going out on a sort of second or third drive. I thought, actually, the suspension is still really stiff in this, and the suspension is very stiff. I think it is as stiff as it would be in the dynamic mode, which is like the sport mode, if you had the adjustable suspension. So the adjustable suspension there, the dynamic ride control, or I think it's magnetic ride control, I think, or magnetic, yeah, I forget, I have to look that up later. If you had that option, it would be basically like leaving it in the hardest setting all the time, and that's what it feels like, and it is hard. It's really hard, and if you're doing a lot of miles, hills. It's not a nicer place to be cruising in, I must admit. Great fun around the bends, but I'd like to be able to turn that suspension mode into comfort, if you like. So yeah, not overly impressed with that, and I was a little bit disappointed that that didn't sort of come included, that you had to get that as an option. I, by the way, bought the car 2 years old, so I didn't really have a choice, but I probably wouldn't have bought this particular used model if I had known it didn't have this option. The only other thing I've really not liked about this car is that the seats don't have lumbar support, and that's an option. I just assumed that they would have some manual lumbar support, but nope, they don't have any lumbar support, and that really is just cheap in my opinion, that Audi couldn't put some form of manual adjustable lumbar support in. But again, quite small. Everything else I absolutely love. So yeah, let's go for a drive when we get to some of these say off the main roads, ones that are a little less busy, and let's try to see if you can hear. I don't have the GoPro really pick up too well the engine note, but yeah, I do like the engine note. It sounds really great when you put it in this dynamic. I'm just going to switch over right now to the dynamic mode. I must admit, I only ever leave it in auto or dynamic, by the way. I don't use anything else. Comfort to me doesn't really achieve a lot. Efficiency, definitely, I don't like that. It takes away the engine braking and lets it sort of coast. I really don't like that at all. I can appreciate it can save you some fuel, but when you've got it in cruise control mode, it locks, doesn't let you freewheel anyway, so yeah, it's not so great for me. Dynamic mode, I enjoy. People say the steering's a bit stiff, but I quite like that. I feel it makes me feel like I'm sort of you know, a bit more secure going into the corners. I don't know, maybe just yeah, but we're in dynamic mode now. We're in the sport gearbox mode, so I'm just going to stop talking, see if you can hear the engine, see what it sounds like. What I do is I'll switch into the manual flappy paddle mode, which I find a lot more adaptive around these winding roads. I can go into the corners, and you know, I know I can take them a bit better when I'm in the right gear, obviously. Got to be quite careful. There's a lot of lane water on the roads. Hopefully you can hear that, and that I think has kept me quite addicted to this car. I used to think the little pop of the exhaust, if you can just hear that, yeah, that pop, I thought that was a little bit shabby, if you like, but it's grown on me, and I really like it actually. Yeah, it's quite cool. Yeah, and this is what the fun is. Every time I think, oh, I'm getting a bit fed up with the car, I take it out, usually at night when there's not many cars on the road, and I go around the back, you know, the back roads in the countryside, and it's yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. You can see it puts a smile on my face to give it a little bit of stick now and again. I think you do need to give it a bit of a stick now and again to really work the engine. It's what it's designed for as a performance car. Other practicalities whilst we're driving along here. Fuel consumption, that was one of the reasons, again, I couldn't stick with the S5. I could do, it wasn't so bad. On a run you could get maybe 25 on a run, but I don't do a lot of motorway miles. I do mainly sort of in town or on the, you know, small B roads, stop start and everything. It didn't have the automatic stop start as well, as it was the older model, so that lost me quite a bit of fuel, I think. S3 gets, showing on my computer at the moment, around about 25 miles per gallon. I get that most fill ups. I always brim the tank, fill to fill, Shell V power. I try to always go to the same petrol station. I don't like moving around petrol stations. I mean, obviously if I have to go elsewhere, and I'll use a different Shell garage, but I don't tend to use other brands. I always do brim to brim, and I check per fill up, what economy, and I've been getting between 23 to 25 miles per gallon. On a run, however, I've been getting up to 35 miles per gallon, but my general daily driving around these sort of roads, these country roads, is about 25. That is mainly in automatic mode, in automatic drive select. However, that's a lot of water. However, if I go into the dynamic mode and really plant my foot down, then you're obviously going to be seeing a bit less. I honestly don't know how people are seeing or saying they're always getting 30 to 35 to the gallon unless they're doing majority motorway miles, because even though Audi's book figures quote some higher MPG figures, I really don't think that's likely. You know, it's a 300 horsepower engine at the end of the day, and yeah, so 25, and I'm happy with that. You know, that works for me. I don't do a massive amount of miles. I'm happy with that. And if we go on a run, we go away on holiday or something, if I wanted to drive down to France, I could get 30, 35, and that's even better. Yeah, so that was one of the boring miles per gallon elements, but very necessary to know in this day and age in the UK, obviously with fuel prices as they are. I'm gonna just stop up here actually and just pull in to just up here. It's actually a really nice spot I live in over the looking over the Purbex here in Dorset. I'm gonna now just take the iPhone here and just show you a few parts inside the car. Now please bear in mind the car is very dirty. I never have my car dirty like this ever. It's been over Christmas period, I just haven't been cleaning it. I've been seeing family and stuff. Yeah, as you can see here, 21,000 miles on the clock. Let's turn on the dash here. Love the way the dash lights up like that. I love the way the dials come round. Telling me my oil change is due, which is very good. Some things I really like on the S3 I've got is the push button start, which is really nice. This is what I was saying about a drive select. If I press the drive select, we've got the dynamic, the individual, efficiency, comfort, and auto. Personally, auto seems the most useful one, and I love this pop-up screen that generally pops up when you turn on the ignition. Obviously you've got standard things like the nav. Some really nice touches I've seen on this particular model is the Bang & Olufsen, the sort of mood lighting, which is really nice. There's some mood lighting there. So you've got the mood lighting on the driver's side. Yeah, which is really nice. Everything just looks very modern compared to the old S5. You know, the whole dash here is really modern. The vents and everything are really nice. The seats are, as you can see from the other camera, are really nice. It's still got the adjustable, I forget what the technical term for it is, but the back of your leg support there. And in the back, it's a really, can't really see in this light now, but it's a really nice place to be. GoPro there. The flappy paddles are brilliant, love these, and what I really love is this flat bottom steering wheel. I think that really makes the look of this S3. Cruise control down here. What would I do if I was getting another S3? What would I change? I think I would get a few different options. I get the magnetic ride, if we think that's the right term for it, to make the suspension a little bit better, a bit softer rather. I get adaptive cruise control because I think that would be brilliant for those long distance drives. It doesn't seem to come in many Audis. I don't think many people take the options, so if you see one on the used market, it's a really good idea. And I'd probably take adaptive high beam assist, because yeah, it's just a nice little feature. But everything else has been really great on this car. The driving is brilliant, it's really fun. What am I likely to change up for it next? Well, if money could permit, I would go up to an RS5 because I loved the Audi S5. I think it was one of the best cars I've driven, albeit I haven't driven that many cars, but I think it is beautiful, it looks beautiful. Yeah, I would go to an RS5, I think. Practically, what am I probably going to go to? I'm probably going to go to an estate, maybe an Audi A4 or A6 or something like that, just because I want to be able to get my bikes in the back. I want to be able to move stuff around and not have such a small boot. But in terms of ownership, yeah, it's been great fun. I might keep it another year. The depreciation has not been too bad. I say they're holding up about £20,000 to £24,000 now on the used market at 3 years old. And it's been a really fun car. So thank you for watching this video. I have probably waffled on a little bit, but if you want to ask any questions in the comments, feel free, or I might do another video a bit more structured, but this was general, just a sort of, yeah, general overview of how the year's gone. But thanks for watching.